On March 13th, 1964, 28-year-old Kitty Genovese, who managed a bar in Manhattan, had just arrived at her apartment located in a quiet neighborhood in Queens, New York City. Shortly after leaving her car, she was brutally attacked by a man with a knife. The man stabbed her several times in the back while she screamed for help. Someone yelled from the apartment window to the attacker, telling them to leave her alone. At that time, the attacker, 29-year-old Winston Moseley, fled the scene, only to return a second time 10 minutes later and attacked Kitty again and violated her. The attack lasted a whole half an hour without anyone coming down to help, and it was only after the second attack when one of the 38 witnesses to the crime called the police. When the police finally arrived and Kitty was taken to the hospital, it was too late, and she died to her wounds on the way to the hospital. Winston Moseley was eventually apprehended and given life imprisonment and placed in a maximum security prison in upstate New York. This tragedy fascinated psychologists around the world, trying to find out why none of the witnesses bothered to help. Two psychologists, John Darley and Bill Blatounet, began to theorize why there was no action coming from the large group of bystanders. After analyzing their reactions, they concluded that because there were so many bystanders, the likelihood of an individual coming down to help actually decreased. They coined the term bystander intervention, the act of helping others in an emergency, or in Kitty's case, non-intervention.
Darley and Latane recruited university students as participants and told them that they would be participating in a discussion about personal problems. Because participants were going to be discussing about personal problems, they were placed in individual rooms to ensure privacy and would be conversing via an intercom system. Each participant would have 2 minutes to talk, during which all other participants' intercoms would be switched off. Because the discussion was taking place over an intercom system, participants were not aware that the voices they would hear were pre-recorded. The number of people each participant talked to depended on which experimental condition they were placed in. Participants in Group 1 believed they were talking to one other person. Those in Group 2 believed they were talking to 2 other people. And those in Group 3 believed they were talking to 5 other people. One of the pre-recorded voices was that of a male student who confessed that he sometimes had epileptic seizures and that he might seize during his second turn. On his second turn, the pre-recorded male student seized and said something along the lines of, "I'm having a fit, I think, help me, oh my god, I think I'm gonna die," and then it went silent. The response that experimenters would measure is the time it takes the participants to leave the room and ask the experimenters for help.
The findings from the study offered strong support for the researchers' hypothesis. The percentage who reported the seizure quickly as the attack was occurring decreased dramatically. The amount of delay in helping was greater when more bystanders were present. The average delay in responding for Group 1 was less than a minute. It took Group 3 over 3 minutes to respond, and Group 2 took 2 minutes to respond. During the 4-minute period, 85% of Group 1 reported the emergency, 65% of Group 2 helped, and 25% of Group 3 reported the emergency during the 4-minute period.
What was that? Oh, shoot. Somebody will probably help him out.
Why did nobody help John the first time? Why did it take groups 2 and 3 so much longer in the experiment to respond than group 1? And most importantly, why did nobody rush to the aid of Genovese? Some people might question, is it just human nature? I mean, maybe we just don't care about things that don't immediately concern us. Psychologists Darley and Latané believe the opposite. In fact, their experiment showed that every participant, regardless of the group that they were placed in, exhibited physical signs of being uncomfortable, which proved that they cared. Their results, however, backed their theory of the diffusion of responsibility. This states that the greater the amount of bystanders in an emergency, the more likely a response such as, somebody else will probably help, so I don't need to. Well, why does this study matter? It might just look like a pessimistic study that points out a problem found in most humans. What Darley and Latané hoped to accomplish with their research, however, was to do just that, point out a problem, to raise awareness for something serious that we need to work on. If someone is in danger or in need of immediate help, we should not just assume that someone else will intervene. Instead, we should act fast to assist them.